Hi everyone, you are through to the podcast of The Hub, and yes, we look a little bit different because we are levelling up, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about that at the end. But today we are joined by a lifelong friend as well as business associate, because the topic, as you know, if you are on my socials, is all about supporting my clients with the topic of social media this month. One of the main reasons is because it seems to be a barrier for small businesses because they feel quite overwhelmed, not very really inspired, or they may actually just not like being on there as an individual. But for me, it's a huge asset when you look at your own marketing, and it's something you can do on a low cost basis with ads, with content, and build up that momentum. If you haven't got the budget for a website, guys, you need to be on, social media first. That's where your following is. It's all about community, it's all about engagement, and it's all about people seeing you and your brand. So who better to share a little bit of advice with us in our community and through our social media channels at Ask Zoe than the expert herself, Collette Evans. So just explain to everybody who you are, Collette, and how you help your customers.
Yeah, so I'm Collette and I own Picture Perfect, and we're a visual agency based in Barnsley, so local to yourself,
Yeah.
So I cover all sorts of media content, from photos, videos, podcasting, and also content coaching. So I think it's important, and we were just saying actually before we started filming, like in this day and age, to be a successful in business, and you've got to have that omnipresence everywhere. And you really need to be good at sales and marketing, which is hard when you didn't get taught that at school.
No.
And it's all about having a go. I think you don't always need a professional photographer or videographer like myself. You can just have a go, and just done is better than perfect.
We agree with that. And you'll see, guys, if you look at my Hub podcast, it's always been done on Zoom before, and that's because I wanted to just put something out there. Done is better than perfect. But now we've built momentum over 2 years. It is time now to level up in the business and use spaces like this behind us from Pitch Perfect Studios. But also I wanted to kind of get Collette on the podcast because Collette is a photographer. She's told me at the age of 14 that's what she wanted to be when she grew up, and she's a testament to what you can do and achieve your dreams. But as Collette rightly introduced herself, it has progressed into something much bigger than photography, because the assets that you put online really do showcase who you are and your personal brand, because I believe people buy from people. So do you just want to explain that journey of Picture Perfect and why you're now positioning yourself as a visual creator?
So, I think, like you said, people buy from people. Building your personal brand is important in this day and age. That's why influencers have a side hustle, as I say. But, when I started this business 13 years ago, it was a completely different space. I don't think Instagram really existed. No. It wasn't, prominent. Yeah. And now with all the different social media networks, utilise that for free. But it's actually the social media networks actually allowed me to build my business as well.
Yeah.
Because there is now an absolute need for content, and it's regular content.
Yeah.
So I think just people are just more aware of the fact that they need regular daily content, or just a bank of content.
Yeah.
So that brought me on to working more on retainers, more with businesses.
Yeah.
When I started out this business, I started off in weddings. So as you know,
she did. I was the wedding coordinator. Collette was the wedding photographer.
Yeah. So and that it seems like a lifetime ago now, but I've learnt a lot along the way. Mm-hmm. In business, I've failed a lot. But I've also had a lot of successes, and I think when you look back at that journey, I've got a lot to offer, which is where the content coaching comes in.
Yeah.
And helping people, especially new businesses, position themselves correctly in the marketplace from the offset. And I think now, people realise how important it is to actually get it right from the beginning and do it properly.
Yeah, I agree.
So I just think, people need help in setting up the businesses, or if they've been in business a while, they maybe need a bit of a refresh, which obviously with your strategy sessions as well, that's where that comes in.
Yeah.
And also, like, a lot of people are self-employed now, they want a lifestyle business.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want a big sort of like corporate business, like, you know, that the Instagram lifestyle, you know, it's attractive to people.
Yeah.
And I think, like, because of that, you're often on your own in business, and it can be a very lonely place.
Yeah.
So having experts like myself or you to bounce off and just get a different perspective on your business really helps, whether it comes to creating content, it comes to strategy.
Yeah.
And I think that's like how basically I've managed to evolve the business into a more of an agency feel.
Yeah. Because a lot of people do have them same problems, and I think one of the main challenges I get presented with when I'm working with someone and talking about social media is, you know, I don't have anything to say, or I don't have anything to show. And this is why kind of visual content, in my opinion, is so imperative to start building the bank of content, you know, so early. Why do you think, you know, people are challenged by social media and a little bit scared of it in the first instance of business?
I think it's actually a fear of judgment.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to ultimately. Like, it's a fear that they're not going to post the right thing, or they're going to look bad. But there's no bad content.
Yeah.
So long as you are giving value to your audience,
Yeah.
or you're providing some sort of, just something about yourself as to why they should work with you.
Yeah.
So offering your expertise, or showing off, even like, don't be afraid to show off how good you are.
Yeah.
And I think people, it's like self-internal thing.
Yeah.
If they're not a corporate business, when it's a corporate business, it's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
But when it's you know, a smaller company, an SME, I think they're just scared of what to put out. They don't have any idea of what the strategy should be. But I don't think there's any right or wrong, as long as you're consistent. And like you with this podcast, consistency is the key, because you keep showing up, and also looking at being on every single platform on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
But you also have to be direct as well. I think, like, make sure you're connecting with people on a one-to-one level rather than one-to-many. So it is difficult.
Yeah.
But when it comes to social media, I think people just get put off by the fact that they don't know what to post.
Yeah.
That's the most common thing that I get.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
Yeah, definitely. And a top tip we share with our customers and in the Hub community, I'm sure you'll all agree, is if you're ever stuck with kind of what to post or what to say, have a look at what you're doing that week. So this is something we do on a Sunday, because Sundays work for us. You know, it's where we're a little bit more quieter. We've spent the day with the family. So about tea time, we have a look at the diary and kind of think to ourselves, right, where do I need to tell people that I'm showing up? That's the first thing. Then we create content around that and make reminders in his phones to make sure we're being that consistent, because you're very much right. I mean, Claire Froggatt said this in the branding workshop that I did with her, 2 years ago? You can be good, you can be bad, but if you're ultimately not consistent, they ultimately won't remember your brand. But that applies with lifestyle, that applies with personal brand photography and social media and content in general, I believe. So I always, you know, suggest that as the first step. The second step is to kind of look at if there's anything happening in the local community that resonates, any links that you've seen, any opinion-based content you can share, because that's value, sharing your tone of voice. And then have a look at social media days and see if there's anything that resonates. But also don't forget live content, guys, because people want to see what you're doing. Like, you might not know, but we've got content around us to make sure that today people are seeing the level of content that's going into our businesses and showing the amazing space that we've got behind us that can be used for podcasting, or anything to do with visual content, you know, for your business. So when you first started out, Collette, was there anything that you used in your business to kind of get over that hurdle of showing up more? Because ultimately, I believe that's what social media does. It helps you show up more, because there's so many things like scheduling apps now. There is reminders that you can put on your phone. There's Meta Business Suite, so it's really accessible through apps. So, this software, let's say, that's available now that wasn't, like you rightly said, 15, 20 years ago when social media came onto the market. So how did you, 13 years ago, kind of get over that barrier and help yourself show up more in business?
Honestly, I think I was working ridiculous hours. I was working a full-time job when I set the business up, so I didn't really feel that pressure, and I just don't think there was that social media pressure there then. But I still had to show up at events, wedding fairs, and I think it was just about being organised. So I used to look at maybe like 6 months ahead for the wedding fair season and make sure I got my events booked in, make sure I had a budget allocated for that.
Yeah.
And really think about where did I want the business to be in the next 12 to 24 months really.
Yeah.
And write that down. I was very big on like writing that down. I'm not really so much of a planner now beyond the next sort of quarter.
Yeah.
Because I think with the pandemic it did skew everything.
Yeah.
But I just think you've just got to believe. I think it's just about believing you can do it.
Yeah.
And just keeping going and thinking, if something goes wrong, don't start sulking about it.
we can all do, guys. Let's be honest.
Like, don't. I take it as a lesson to improve rather than thinking, oh, this is terrible, and going into a spiral of, a negativity spiral. Actually think, okay, what did I learn from that? How would I do it better next time? That's okay, move on. In terms of social media, like now, I have a loose plan for the month ahead. Obviously, things can get moved around if I feel appropriate, if I'm not feeling the vibe of it. But often, what stops us person is actually how we feel.
Yeah.
Not how it actually is. So if you have an actual strong strategy for the week or the month ahead, then it allows you to stick to that tone.
Yeah.
So thinking about what you're trying to achieve in your business, say if there's a certain course you're trying to push or a package, that needs to be an overlying theme throughout the whole month or even 2 months, and it takes a lot longer to convert people, new clients and existing clients, than you actually think.
Yeah. It is.
But I just find, like, even with myself, it's easy to get overwhelmed by doing too many tasks.
Yeah.
So focus on promoting one thing, focus on just promoting one method, like social media or like, getting back in touch with clients. One thing at a time gives you better results rather than spreading yourself too thin, especially if you are a small team.
I agree, and like setting priorities.
Yeah.
I mean, we work very similar in that 90-day plan, but how kind of we showed up more. I mean, a lot of people say, well, they even ask, sorry, do you have a twin? Because you show up a lot. And that's because events is our background. So initially when social media didn't exist really and wasn't really kind of a tool that it is today in business, we were showing up at the events and either managing the events or networking at the events. And that's how we've built our network, which we believe is our biggest strength. But still, that still operates as much as social media does because we keep that consistency and picking which platform works best for us. Because there's something that I'll always say in social media is give it a go, but plan, so you've got that tone of voice. So when you don't feel your best self, you're already showing up no matter how you're feeling because you've done that little bit of planning. Even if it's just a week ahead, guys, we plan further ahead because we're 8 years in self-employment, 13 years in self-employment, we're becoming quite accustomed to that. But we were even just saying before we started recording, there's so many things you can be doing in business, but it's what to do. And I'll always share this, do what you love, outsource what you don't, but when it is the right time for the business, that you've got that level, even if it's just a margin of investment, to put into something that someone else can do a lot quicker and potentially a lot better for you, but you still have to steer the ship. Because even if you do outsource social media, for example, in your content creation to Collette, it only goes so far. They need your input. That's important.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing. Like everything, when you work with anyone as like a freelancer in your business, I think it's important to remember it is a partnership. It's a collaboration. 100%. And that's the thing I've learned. Like, working with other people, they give you back as much as you give them.
Yeah.
Like any coach.
Yeah.
A business coach, whatever. If you're not telling them what's going on or what you think.
Yeah.
And feeding back to them, what you actually want to achieve. And even like down to if you've got a blog writer, like who's your ideal client?
Yeah.
What do you want to achieve this next quarter? The tone needs to go, that way.
Yeah.
And it needs to go that... So if you're trying to promote a certain thing, I think you need to be promoting that on your newsletters. You need to be promoting that on your blogs, social media, stories. If you've got YouTube, everything needs to tie together. So, have an overarching theme. Leaving breadcrumbs, you've got a roadmap of where you want to go with your business.
Yeah.
And I think then it creates more of a certainty for you, and it creates a sense of calm.
Yeah.
That's what I think we all want to be in business and to feel in control.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't feel in control is if you're trying to, when it comes to content, for me, you're trying to post at the time and you try to think, oh my God, what should I post?
Yeah.
And you're just oh, this is just terrible and I just need to put something out, and just anything goes out, and then it almost gets diluted, who you are or your brand messaging or what you're trying to promote gets diluted. Or it can come across too salesy, and then you get in this paralysis, and you think, well, just not bother, I'll do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and the same happens again. So what I'd say is at least plan for the week ahead and have a weekly theme.
Yeah, I agree, and it's a common problem that Colette's just sharing there is that stage fright, as I call it, because we can get that stage fright and then we get it again and then we get it again and then we're like, oh my God, now it's a week. We haven't been consistent. I know people presume that you're closed if you're not active on social media. And you may think, well, that's silly. No, first impressions count. And it used to be 7 seconds. It's now 3 seconds, guys, as much as the scroll is on social media. So we've got to be putting that thought into it. And, definitely making sure that there is some sales content as well as value-based content as well. Because... ultimately that's what you're wanting to do. Now, there's stats about in social media where they say, it's 2% of your conversion rate, it can go up to 7%, you hear different stats all the time. What would you advise for businesses who are seeing them stats, for example, Collette, and thinking, well, what's ultimately the point if it's only going to help me by 2%? Would you agree with that, disagree with that? Because I know I have my opinion, but I'd love to hear from you on that.
I mean, if you can move your business 1% 5 days a week, ideally 7, but, we're not all robots like me and you.
Yeah, that's true.
And work 24/7, but if you can move your business 5% each week, and each time you post or get in touch with a client or whatever, and, they might refer you to somebody they know. If we can move it 1% every day by doing something that's potentially going to generate that 2%, then that adds up.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think it just compounds, and if you're consistent again with doing that, I actually schedule in sales and marketing blocks in my diary 2 to 3 times a week. So I'll have a social media block on a Monday. Nobody can book me unless it's absolutely urgent. Nobody can book me on a Monday morning. That's my social media planning time and getting myself together ready for the week ahead as a business person and giving myself the space. And I think it's important. And another thing, to give yourself the space as a business owner to actually think. Because we can get so involved in the doing, especially when you've not got a big team. And I think, it's all well and good if you've got a business coach or whatever, you go on these courses, they tell you, your team should be doing this. Well, I am, for me, I've got freelancers and people that come in and help me if I need, but
we're the same.
I am the team. So at the moment, I'm the closer in the business for the sales, I'm the content creator, I'm the marketing to some extent. And everything else that I need to do, networking, it's promotion, so you've got to prioritise your tasks, you've got to give yourself the space, but and also ultimately just prioritise what is going to move that 1 or 2% every single day.
I agree. It's about consistency, and it's also about growing your audience. And I'll always say this, if you look at the stats on email, as John Covey has shared probably both with myself and Collette, but also it's a national stat that in email marketing, for example, it's between 1 and 3% of your list that converts at any one time. And ultimately people will say the same question with social media. What's the point? Well, the point is about consistency, about 1% or 2% or 3% per day. But ultimately, if you're building your following as well, because that's equally as important for the right people to see the content, then if you've got a community of 10,000, what's 2% of 10,000? You know, it is worthwhile if you understand the end objective. And it's funny you say about the Monday, it's one of the reasons the Ask Zoe strategy days have moved to a Monday, is because we found that a lot of people like to plan and, you know, be ready as a business owner for the week ahead, and it's the ideal day to do it, obviously as well as checking emails and, you know, getting yourself organised for the week ahead. So whatever day works for you guys on social media, just pick where is most productive and block that out. Treat yourself as your best customer, because that's ultimately, you know, where you can show up for yourself more. So with everything considered, with, you know, the journey of your business, Collette, and, you know, now what you know, educate on, talk about, deliver courses on, what would you say is the biggest tip you can give to our community who are that SME sat there feeling a little bit scared about social media or feel like they're not showing up enough? What is your top tip for them to help them show up more on socials?
Sit down and have a brainstorm of what value you offer to your ideal client. What makes a 5-star client for you? Like, who do you love working with? And think about how you can tell your audience what they want to hear from you about how you can help them.
Yeah.
Because if you can give value, make them feel good as well.
Yeah.
But also, you know, don't be afraid to sell.
Yeah.
I think it's just about having the ideas to begin with. And I actually do use ChatGPT to help me generate ideas, ask me questions, so I won't get ChatGPT to tell me what to say, because I think it's obvious. And, you know, copying and pasting captions is just not the done thing now. You can tell.
Yeah.
I can't count how many times I've seen the word embark. But we all know it's ChatGPT, don't we? So, like, what I actually do, I write in some topics I want to talk about, what my objective is for that topic, who I'm actually trying to, you know, attract or talk to.
Yeah.
And then I'll say to ChatGPT, these are my sort of like ideas and thoughts about it. Ask me 10 questions about this topic.
Yeah.
And then I'll answer them in either a video post or a graphic, or, you know, it gives a tone and it gives that theme. So I think utilise AI.
Yeah.
That's, if you really are stuck, then utilise AI.
Yeah.
And even with my like content coaching clients, I will encourage them still to, you know, we work on things together, but we still use AI as well, and then we both bounce off that. You know, I don't think there's nothing wrong with using AI.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest top tips would be using the tools that can help you be more efficient and overcome that barrier of, you know, stage fright within social media. Because yes, I agree, you know, I mean, I'm dyslexic, guys, so I automatically spell optimization with a Z, not an S, when it should be an S. And the amount of times people come to me and say AI, and I'm like, no, not AI. Me, I just keep forgetting to change, you know, it to S, because I do know that. I mean, I've not just been diagnosed with dyspraxia. I've had dyspraxia and dyslexia since I was in school.
I can't spell attachment every time, every email.
Yeah. So there's always little things, but tools do help you with that. And yes, I agree. Don't use AI to write your content. Use it to inspire ideas, you know, to help you with them blocks, because that ultimately, as soon as you get over that block, you can start to move up and one step forward, you know, in the business. The last thing I kind of want to ask you, Collette, is a topic that comes to me every time, and I would just love to get your opinion on it, because it's the topic relating to marketing. Niche or not to niche? What's your advice with your content and with your social media
100%
tools?
Niche.
Yeah.
For me, although I've got a background in all different types of photography, in the past 22 years I've been a photographer, I've more niche now towards the health and fitness industry, whether that be people or products or places. And that was a really scary thing for me to do, but the pandemic pushed me into it and brought me out of the wedding scene into more product-based, content. And since I've done that, and I've just basically just gone, right, even on Instagram, to be honest, you won't see many product content on my Instagram. It's mainly all people and online coaches. If you go on my LinkedIn, it's a different story. It's more product and people based. So, but it's still all to do with the health and fitness industry and, capitalising your strengths. So I use myself as my own marketing tool as a bodybuilder on a personal level that's won, world title, British title, and achieved all these things. I use that as a marketing tool to strengthen my business. And it just all comes together in a big circle. So if you're asking me, 100% niching was the best thing I did. And it doesn't dilute my message. And I'm also, in terms of a marketing sense, I'm not diluting how many things I'm trying to push out there on different platforms. I had competing priorities before and now I don't. So I'd definitely say, if you're thinking of niching, do it, because it's the best thing I ever did.
I'm so glad you said that, because do you know how many people I speak to in a day-to-day setting that are afraid to do that? And what I would say, guys, in terms of the topic of social media that we're discussing today, it is better to speak to somebody rather than everybody, because even when you go out marketing and you go networking, the more niche and more specific you can be in your ask, the better, because the more people are going to think of somebody. Especially with what Collette shared about getting them to feel something, the more they're going to know somebody who feels that way, and the more they're going to feel like you're speaking to them directly. And ultimately, that will encourage engagement, it'll encourage likes, it'll encourage shares, it'll encourage people to have conversations within each other. So 100%, I mean, I know we specialise in this area, but I just wanted to get that opinion from an expert who is an expert in content and visualization and photography about the benefits of that in your business, especially when we come to social media. So that brings episode 27 to a close. But as you can see behind me, guys, we're in an amazing space just on the outskirts of Barnsley, as we're both Barnsley business owners. So Collette, do you just want to share a little bit about, your studio and your space and how people can, come and experience more about Picture Perfect photography?
Yeah, so the studio is available for hire, like a dry hire. If you're looking for a podcasting space or a media space, I've got 3 floors actually in this studio. So we're on the bottom floor at the moment in the main studio. The background can be changed to any colour to suit your branding. We've got lots of props and things you can put behind. And then we have the smaller room in the attic, which is more, I'd say, what would you say, atmospheric. Yeah, it's got coloured lighting.
Very cosy.
Yeah,
very
but
cosy,
it's more of a two-person space and a perfect place to record podcasts. And then the middle floor is office space, which is either available for filming in, if you wanted to do that type of content, which is more relaxed at work, or it's also available to just rent for the day, week, month. And then in terms of myself, I offer, like I said at the beginning, podcasting services, video and photo, along with the content coaching. So it is a really all-in-one solution to your social media. And I'll just leave you with this as well, if you're looking to create your content, then look at doing batch content creation. It'll save you absolute boatload of stress. And time. If you can get that scheduled in at the end of every month, for the following month, it just gives you that consistency again. So whether you're looking for a space to create or somebody to create it for you, Picture Perfect can help.
Definitely. So how would they get in contact with you, Collette, if they was listening to this or viewing it as we're levelling up with the video side content of our business? How would they reach out? Is it best to email you, ring you, connect with you on socials? What's best?
So they can either visit my website, which is pictureperfectphoto.co.uk, or Instagram's probably the most prominent platform for me, so it's at pictureperfectphoto.uk. So either on either of those 2 platforms, All the contact details on the website as well. So yeah, I look forward to hearing from anyone who needs help with content creation, but feel free to reach out if you just need a bit of advice as well.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to reach out to me, guys, then please do within the Hub community or on our platforms, as the podcasts are shared through Ask Zoe social media platforms, which is Ask Zoe01 if you want to go and follow us and check us out. I can testify and testament to Colette's work. She looks after our content and like with the personal brand side, so I definitely encourage you to have that conversation. Next month is all about going back to basics in your business, so do stay tuned for more of what's coming up, and I just thank you again, Collette, for joining us for the Hub podcast today in sunny old Barnsley, and we'll see you soon.